question that some people might ask themselves is what the great composers of the past would do right now with all the modern techniques to their hands. Would Vivaldi be in a metal band? Would Mozart write musicals? And would Beethoven have gotten professional treatment and thus being able to hear his latest symphonies? Well, we'll never know, but I think if there's one artist that gives us an idea of what the middle spot between a composer and a contemporary modern songwriter could look like, that is Julia Holter. And today I'm going to talk about her magnum opus, Have You in My Wilderness. Julia's career would start towards the end of her studying in Michigan, which she finished with a degree in musical composition. She released multiple EPs between 2007 and 2010 before she was signed to a label. The only thing that exists on Spotify from that time of her career is a live performance she did in 2010, where there are multiple of her songs from those EPs. After getting signed to a label, Julia would release her first two albums in 2011 and 2012. Both of which were entirely self-produced. The reason I talk about both of them in one breath is because they clearly mark the start of her career, still trying to find her own way as an artist. First two albums both have a more ambient-like touch to them than her later works. On Tragedy, that is achieved by having a drone in the background, such as on the highlight of her first album, Celebration. Her second album also does that, however it uses a lot more reverb on the melodic instruments, mostly the keyboards. The singing there is often hiding in the mix in a similar way as synonymous with another artist that uses ambient production soundscapes in her music, Grouper. However, early on there was something quite unique about Julia's songwriting. Being set by herself, influenced by Fiona Apple, Radiohead or Tori Amos, these are three artists united in their ability to blur the lines between newer genres like rock, pop or folk with older ones like jazz or even classical music. In a similar way, Julia in her early days would combine more poppy, yet still quite unique songs like Goddess Eyes with 9-minute-long epic compositions such as Celebration. The real challenge would then just be to combine those aspects of her music and also just in general conform to modern song structures to make more straightforward and also just more enjoyable music in the future. Doing that, we arrive at her third album and the first one under her current label Domino Records, Loud City Song. These songs are without a doubt her most accessible yet, making it also the most acclaimed and successful album of hers up to that point. Julia was constantly evolving as an artist by the day, only becoming more confident with every record, bringing us to her fourth album, Have You in My Wilderness, released in 2015. You know, when I told you that she studied music, I learned about that while researching for this video. However, I basically already knew it the moment I heard the first seconds of this record. Do you hear this? This is a harpsichord, an instrument similar to a piano but with a rather different sound, as it doesn't hammer on the strings but plucks them, which makes the sound more stiff, as you can't control how hard the strings are played. To say the harpsichord is not a common instrument would be, well, an understatement. Its height of popularity was around the 17th century, being associated with the German Baroque composer Johann Sebastian Bach. Since Loud City Song, Julia's framework for her songs had become more grounded. The instrumentation itself, however, stays very extravagant, with a harpsichord on the first track being far from the only example. The highlight on a previous project, This Is a True Heart for instance, combines a steady rhythm with a great contrabass line and an excellent saxophone solo. Going back to this project, Feel You is just brilliant. Chord progression has an uplifting feeling and everything happening around it just enhances that. All of the orchestral elements make the song feel big, while the clean production makes it sound so modern. And may I just say, Julia can sing really well. Although the leading vocals follow a staccato-like singing approach, those little short rap phrasings still manage to sound so melodic, showing the quality of a great singer. Obviously, there are dozens of great genres here that people who are much more well-versed in music theory than me might dissect, but the result is such a bliss. The opener is definitely the best song on the whole album, but that doesn't mean that the rest of it isn't worth listening to. Far from it, actually. For the second song, for example, I have a question for you. How long does it need for its first key change? That's right, 8 seconds. That is if you'd say the song is in C, which is what it sounds like when the song begins, but actually later on you can hear that it's actually in G, so the first chord change actually doesn't come after 8 seconds, but after 5. This record as a whole, by the way, also just shows so much more confidence than her previous ones. Unlike on her early projects, the mix doesn't give her voice anywhere to hide, and the songs themselves also are much more written around her voice, which is again brilliant. On Silhouette she sings the melodies with so much charm, highlighting every note and unusual pronunciation in a similar way as Fiona Apple, although more playful and less filled with strong emotions. It is to say though that some songs here do at least temporarily fall into her old ambient sound, like Night Song for instance.
What did I do to make you feel?
Something that again shows just how confident Julia was with this record is her willingness to record older songs she had written for years, with She Calls Me Home or another standout, Betsy on the Roof. Initially, I didn't really care for Betsy on the Roof that much, until I saw her Tiny Desk performance of it. It has so much rawness, especially the part at 12 minutes 13 seconds into the whole performance, when the drums drop out, then the outro has me on the edge of tears. The thing that really makes it better for me than on the record is first of all the high intensity, although it is already the most intense song on the whole album, but most of all the added lyrics. I don't quite know if she just improvised them on the spot or something, but whatever she did was the right choice, and I consider this the definitive version which you have to listen to, as in the way it is performed there, it is about my favorite song on the album. And as the 8th song, it's also the start to the best 3-song run on the whole thing, which also ends the album. Vasquez is an experimental electronic piece, with Julia half singing, half speaking for most of the song. I love the chords when she starts singing in the second chorus. They just feel so out of left field and weird, it just has to grab your attention, and it really does for me. And then there is the titular track Have You in My Wilderness, which closes the album out. The back and forth between the background voices singing Oh Shut Up while Julia singing in the foreground keeps getting more intense is one of the best moments of the whole record. Happy in My Wilderness manages to answer the question of mine, what will look like if a classical composer would try themselves on contemporary songwriting. The results are wonderful soundscapes thanks to both the nice production and the beautiful arrangements by Julia. And with the most recent album coming out this year, this one still remains the only one where she's really just the center of the whole album and not just the one pulling the strings in the background to just make it what it is. Happy in My Wilderness manages to combine both the aspects of the past with also just sharp inventiveness and musical enthusiasm to make for a completely unique and just wonderful album.